But right now, it is time to head to the Prime Minister. Jacinda Ardern joins us this morning. Morena, Prime Minister.
Morena.
Thanks for joining us. Now, this time last week, you were saying there is no cost of living crisis. Since then, one of your own ministers, Carmel Sepuloni, has said that there is a crisis for families. Was she wrong?
No, she wasn't. And, if we reflect back on that discussion we had, in that interview, absolutely all the way through acknowledging that, yes, undeniably, in fact, that was the words I used, undeniably there is an impact for people right now.
And Carmel Sepuloni has, the Minister of Social Development, has used the word crisis. So you're saying that the word crisis does apply?
Melissa, I totally agree with Minister Sepuloni that for many people it will absolutely feel like that.
But you won't say the words?
In that same interview, if I may just finish, and in that same interview, I absolutely acknowledge that for many people there is a huge impact, in fact across the board a huge impact right now of the pandemic and a war. I think regardless of the title it's given, you can call it a crisis, an emergency, a shock. The point is, we need to do something about it.
We've
already started on that, and I talked a bit about that. I don't believe it is, because, Melissa, last week I was saying it was a problem, and I'm still saying it's a problem now.
OK, so what are we going to do about it?
We need to do something.
Yeah, we do. Ireland, the UK, the US, they're all looking at cutting taxes off fuel. Will we do the same here?
Yeah, so a couple of things. If I can just reflect back, that right at the end of last year, we were concerned that we would see cost of living increases because of a result of, global issues around pandemic recovery, and that's exactly what we've seen. So we started that planning there for a 1st of April package. Now, what comes in on the 1st of April, for roughly 60% of families, they'll get the benefit of an increase in the family tax credit. At the 1st of April, we also see across the board benefit increases. We see an increase for superannuitants in their payments. And then from the 1st of May, we have the winter energy payment coming back in. And again, that supports our superannuitants as well.
So that will
We're concerned, though, that even though we've got that, sorry, Melissa, I know I can be a bit long sometimes, but there's a bit to get out.
I think people are
We're a bit concerned, though, that whilst we have those... Sorry, that's exactly what I'm trying to get to. We are concerned that helps a lot of our lower middle income earners, but the energy, crisis we're seeing out of the war is hurting people at the pump right now. So today at Cabinet, we are going to talk about some extra options. There's not too much more I can say about that now, but at 4 o'clock this afternoon, I will look to announce the consequence of those discussions, the outcomes from that. So we are looking to move quite quickly, because the impact of that war is happening quite quickly too. OK, so there could be some movement there on the GST for tax. Could we see potentially GST coming off other food basics, bread, things like that they do overseas? I've said that we're looking at I've said that we're looking at options to try and ease the particular impact of the energy crisis right now that we're seeing as a result of the war in Ukraine. We as a Cabinet need to discuss what the best mechanisms are. I think the one thing I'd add is that there aren't many options that we have that allow you to move very quickly. The options we have there are quite limited. Alterations to GST, it takes a long time. It's quite complex to implement. It's not a quick option. There are other options we have, though. So we'll be looking at those. And again, within a couple of hours, I'll be looking to announce the outcome.
And will that be putting options on the table, or will that be, as of tomorrow,
No. It will be a decision. We know that this is right now. I mean, even a week ago when we were having this conversation, Melissa, the increase we've seen at the pump, for the most parts of the country now, over $3 per litre. That's incredible. So we know that we need to move as quickly as we can.
Yeah. Now on crime too, people are. I guess this all flows into one another, doesn't it? The cost of living crisis kind of flows into crime. People are desperate, but then people are also really fearful in their own communities. And we have seen rising instances of gang violence. Now, the National Party, we've heard Mark Mitchell calling this morning for warrantless search powers to come into effect. Would you support that?
Well, the first thing I'd say is that one of the things that we know that we need to keep utterly focused on is, for instance, employment, because yes, no question, what we're seeing in the cost of living impacts on communities, but actually joblessness has a huge impact. And so we have all the way through this COVID crisis focused on keeping people connected to work, because that impacts so many other parts of our society. And so we're at 3.2%. That is incredibly low given the crises that we're navigating at the moment.
Yeah.
So we'll keep a focus on that. I was just looking at for instance, reductions in benefits as a result. When it comes to gang violence, that has been an issue that we've been experiencing as a nation, increasing for some time. I would say a bigger impact on that is actually the policy Australia has of deporting those who are affiliated with gangs to New Zealand. I would say that's having a bigger issue on gang violence than almost anything else right now.
Yeah, and that has been happening for quite some time. So
for some time.
Have we dropped the ball on being able to combat that and keep people safe? Because 1,800 new officers were promised. We're now hearing that we didn't quite get to 1,800. That's not going to be in place until 2023.
No, we did. It was promised and delivered, and in fact, a portion
the police
of those
minister
committed.
Police Minister Porto Williams is saying that it will be achieved by 2023. So we're hearing two different messages.
We have achieved that. What you'll be taking into account is attrition. But what we've also done is
overall, the number
group.
Doesn't matter if there's not 1,800 extra overall, because if 1,800 leave, then there's still no extra officers.
We've delivered what we said we would. We've got the greatest number of police officers on the front line that we've had. And what's important, though, is what are those police officers doing? We've increased the number that are working on organised crime. Really big focus for us has been trying to remove, for instance, some of the firearms we're seeing in circulation. We're also working on firearm prevention orders, which can also prevent individuals from being able to possess and hold firearms. We have specific operations the police have been leading on organised crime that have seen proceeds of crime being removed, firearms removed, and a number of arrests. Do we need to do more? Absolutely. Not denying that. The suggestion from Mark Mitchell around warrantless powers, we always want to be careful around expansions in that space, because, we do need to make sure that where we're moving, we're constantly keeping a balance between all of the things New Zealanders want us to make sure our justice system are doing, including just making sure that we're not overstepping as the state.
Has the focus on COVID and MIQ and there's been protests going on, has all of that focus come at the risk of keeping people safe in the community?
No, absolutely not. Police officers have actually been released from MIQ. It's one of the reasons we've continued to recruit police officers at significant numbers all the way through. It's why we've also moved on for everything from significant changes like changing the way we're running our gun licensing and registration, the firearm prevention orders, and, as I say, significant operations led by the police that have led to a range of arrests within the gang community. But I absolutely acknowledge we always need to make sure, given organised crime is dynamic, we need to keep moving as well. When
are we going to hear when tourists will be allowed back into the country? I know there's been some work done on whether that will be brought forward. 75% in the latest One News Kantar poll say that they would support tourists coming back in if they test negative on arrival. And Michael Baker is saying it would only add a few extra cases of COVID a day.
And look, I'm great to hear that people are in support of that, because we're actually making announcements this week. Keeping in mind, of course, Kiwis from around the world can already come home, no self-isolation. And over the weekend, we started seeing the return of the ability to return of working holiday visa holders. So, our backpackers that play such an important role in our horticulture and tourism industry, they're now able to return.
They're not
we're looking
really
at is sliding forward.
For tourism businesses here, though. So, in terms of making money and
well,
being
it's actually one of the.
So did you say there'll be an announcement?
No, but they are part of our workforce, Melissa. So we've got to make sure we've got the workforce to support tourists, which is one of the reasons why we pulled them forward, so we can bring them in country, get them into the jobs that we need filled in order to prepare for tourism returning. So this week we'll be announcing those dates and the fact that they will be coming forward.
Hey, Prime Minister, it's Ryan here. Hello.
Hi, Ryan. How are you?
Good, thank you. Now, I just wanted to clear something up because people have been sending around this. Someone has cropped a headline out of a news story, which was from an interview we did, I think, last week, and they have said that you have filed to have me banned from all media outlets in the country, and you will henceforth reject all interviews with me. Can we clear this up this morning?
I think for most people that doesn't require clarification. Clearly, that is rubbish.
Yeah.
Yes. But I think most people would know that that would be rubbish.
I think most people do. But gosh, there was a hell of a lot who didn't. Who have been.
Yeah. Well, you know, I hate to say it, but welcome to my world. A lot of rubbish flies around. And, yeah, if you spend all your time dismissing it, you'd be quite exhausted. But now I await the clipping of this moment, and it'll be turned into something, I'm sure. There's a lot of creative people out there.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of people with a lot of time on their hands. Prime Minister, I appreciate it. Thank you so much this morning.
Prime Minister, we do know that you love
you.
speaking to Ryan, that would definitely never be the case.
It would be a complete loss to my life if I didn't have the chance to talk to Ryan again in the future. For all of us, it would be a loss.
Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, thanks very much for talking with myself and Ryan this morning.